ask questions that anybody might have. If you come to the show on Sunday, you can ask as many questions as you like freely because that's all we're doing that day is answering questions. Um, in addition to that, the first 15 minutes of the show, 10 to 15 minutes of the show, we typically give you guys updates on some of the stuff that we're following along with in real time. So as we get news, we give it to you. Um, and then we proactively provide you days like today, which is Wednesday. We're going to be talking about a different country that we could affordably go to live and invest in. Um, it will aid you in your ability to expand your horizons and your opportunities with offshore investments, offshore living, offshore banking. Regardless of what country you're living in, if you're not living in the country that we're talking about today, you can always consider diversifying your living situation. If you're living in a more expensive country, you can actually diversify or relocate and make the same amount of money if you're a digital nomad and have that money go further, being able to work in a different environment. That's one of the things that we look forward to when we are paying attention to how we make, save, and invest money is how do we find a better way to live? Now, note, coming up, we're going to be talking about how making big city money in small towns could stretch your investment opportunities and aid you in your ability to establish a reasonable standard of living. We're going to be talking about other ways that you can incorporate that so that you can find a way to get yourself a more effective budget where you're no longer living at 90 to 95% of your standard of living. We want to get you down to about 30% or less if possible. And if you're capable of making the same quantity of money that you was making when everything was $250,000 in an area where you only need $30,000, you'll find yourself with a larger quantity of money to invest in ways where you can actually retire sooner. Think about that now. If you're making $250,000 a year and you're living in a standard of living that's less than 30,000 a year, you have 210,000 a year that you can invest. 5 years of that, you got $1 million. 10 years of that, you got $2 million, and you can quit your job and live off of 200,000. You'd be making $250,000 a year off of the stock options, where you could quit your job and live off of a $50,000 a year lifestyle while boosting your standard of living at the same time. You know, so if you're able to find ways, even if you have to relocate, if you can find ways to reduce your standard of living, reduce the cost of your standard of living, then that's the best thing for you. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And with that being said, the question comes up: what if you had that chance? What if you had that chance? You were able to invest in Asia's youngest nation just as it's opening its doors to the world. Something nobody ever thought about. A country on the cusp of joining one of the most dynamic economic blocks on the planet, unlocking access to a multi-trillion-dollar market. This isn't a hypothetical from a decade ago. This is how it is happening right now. In Timor-Leste, that's where we're located at today. That's what we're going to be talking about. For a long time, their story of Timor-Leste was one of struggle, like many small countries. A narrative defined by its hard won independence, most recently in 2002. So they've only been independent for about 23 years. But a new chapter has begun, a story of ambition, transformation, and immense economic potential. Because soon as change starts being made, profit starts being made. After a journey of more than a decade, Timor Leste was officially welcomed as the 11th member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nation, ASEAN, on October 26th of 2025, which was not that long ago. It just happened. So we're almost covering breaking news. Now, this isn't just a symbolic handshake, it's a catalyst that changes everything. It's the signal to the world that Timor Leste is open for business. Today, we're not just looking at a frontier market, we're looking at the ground floor of what could be one of Asia's most remarkable growth stories for the next decade. The Asian Development Bloc forecasts the economy to grow by 3.8% in 2025 and 3.4% in 2026, driven by a clear vision, a stable political environment, which we rarely see that, and a strategic reform designed to attract smart early mover capital. Now we're going to break down the unmissable opportunities in this transformation can create, um, from the pristine beaches of its untouchable tourism sectors to the fertile soils of its agricultural heartlands and into the surprising frontier of its new digital economy, ways that we can invest for substantial growth and substantial profits. Now, for the savvy investor, this is more than an opportunity. It is an invitation to be part of the building of a nation. How many people can put their name on that besides Donald Trump? To really grasp the opportunity in Timor-Leste, you have to understand the profound shift that's underway. This isn't just a country seeking investment. It's a nation strategically positioning itself as the newest gateway to Southeast Asia. Now, for years, Timor Leste's economy depended overwhelmingly on its petroleum revenues. It was a source of stability, but also a major vulnerability. Leaders have long known that for true sustainable prosperity, the economy has to diversify. And a lot of countries are starting to realize this. That awareness has now crystallized into a national strategy, and ASEAN members is its cornerstone. So, what does joining ASEAN actually mean for the investor? Well, it means integration, access, and standardization. First, let's talk about the access. As the 11th member of ASEAN, Timor-Leste is now part of a trade bloc with a combined GDP of over $3 trillion and a market of nearly 700 million people. This provides access to preferential trade agreements and opens the doors to vastly more investment and tourism than ever before. For a company based in Timor Leste, it means the potential for fractionless trades. I had to pause on that. Fractionless trades and very little resistance. With economic powerhouses like Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam, those are all the best places to go. Next to Japan and China and Hong Kong. Ooh, special shout out to Indonesia. I can't forget y'all either. A significant portion of Timor Leste's imports already come from Asia and other countries like, look, I special shouted out to Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia. And that relationship is now set to become a two-way superhighway. So while they used to receive from other countries, now they're able to supply other countries. And I got to be honest with you, small countries are just like small towns. It's one thing for you to have an inbound trade or import where your city or country is pooling its money together to go and buy a resource from outside of the city. It's another thing when the small town or small country or small city is cashing checks from outbound service providers because now there's more money in the city to grow the city. There's more money in the city, in the country, in the state, in the town to pay employees so that those people can pay for their housing, so that they can spend more money to develop things, so that more things can get developed. Second, it's about standardization as well as credibility. To join the block, Timor Leste has spent years aligning its domestic regulations and economic policies with ASEAN standards. This process has been a catalyst for internal reform, forcing the government to build more efficient bureaucracy and strengthen its legal frameworks for business. For an investor, this is a massive de risking event. It means you're entering a market that increasingly operates on familiar international recognized principles. The country's formal accession is a stamp of approval that significantly boosts international confidence. Third, the strategic geography. If you look at a map, Timor-Leste sits at a crucial maritime crossroads, bridging Southeast Asia and the Pacific. It's a direct neighbor to Indonesia and Australia, which I don't think we've covered yet. Two of the region's largest economies. So the government is already leveraging this. The new Tiber Bay port, the country's largest infrastructure project since independence, is now operational, dramatically increasing cargo capacity and positioning it as a genuine logistics hub for regional trades. The government's proactive stance doesn't end there. The Asian Development Bank forecasts stable economic growth supported by strong domestic demand and low inflation. While the ABD projects overall GDP growth of 3.8% in 2025, the government's own forecasts are even more optimistic for the non oil economy, anticipating 4.5% growth in both 2025 and 2026, driven by improved public spending and private investment. This combination of forecast, historic Asian ascension, deep seated government reforms, strategic infrastructure, and a favorable economic outlook creates a powerful convergence. It's the why now of the Timor Leste investment thesis. The nation has moved beyond its post conflict narrative and is now writing a new story of economic ambition. The foundations laid and the door to ASEAN is wide open, and the first mover advantage is waiting for those with the vision to see it and affordable financial capital. Now, with the macro tailwinds in place, let's zoom in on the specific actionable opportunities because the government of Timor Leste has identified several key pillars for its economic diversification strategy. These aren't just theories, they're areas where the country has a distinct competitive advantage and where the government is actively offering powerful incentives to attract foreign capital. The first pillar, like always, tourism and hospitality, because Asia's last untouched paradise exists here. Imagine an island destination in South Asia with the kind of pristine beauty that has become almost mystical. This is Timor Leste. We're talking rugged mountains plunging into crystal clear Torsk waters, a sublime coastline, and coral reef systems so vibrant they're considering global significance. The opportunity isn't to replicate mass market tourism, but to leapfrog directly to high value, sustainable, and experimental travel. So the government and local communities know what a treasure they have, and the focus is on preservation and ecotourism. As I've been telling you over the past 3 weeks, ecotourism has become the new form of tourism focus for developers. The best example is Arturo Island, just 36 kilometers north of the capital, Dili. It's recognized as a global biodiversity hotspot with some of the most species rich marine life on the planet. The government is actively promoting Arturo as a flagship zone for ecotourism. Now, this is backed by action. Community led traditional fishing bans, known as Tara Bandu, are restoring fish stocks, and there are plans for a marine park and a marine research and education center. So, what's the investment angle? Well, first, there's a clear need for high quality, low impact accommodations. Think boutiques, eco lodges. Remember those cabins in the woods that are like hot tubs, swimming pools, and all this other stuff when they're supposed to be pitching a tent and they're out there living in a five-star resort that's supposed to be called a cabin? Yeah, eco lodging. Dive resorts, which is like a multi story eco lodge for the global diving community, and wellness retreats that leverage the island's tranquility. The demand is there, but the supply of modern, professionally managed facilities is still in its infancy. So they kind of have an idea of what they want to have, but they haven't perfected it yet. Most nobody has because this is a newly developed idea. Second, the adventure travel market is widely opening. The mountain's interior offers incredible trekking, hiking, and cultural immersion. So there's a need for tour operations, guide services, and the infrastructure to make these experiences accessible as well as safe. Third, ancillary services are critical, from dive shops with modern equipment to farm to table restaurants and reliable charter boats. The government is sweetening the deal both for Ontario and the Oasis enclave. And this has been designated as special economic zones. For an investor, a special economic zone is a game changer. Investments meeting certain criteria can receive up to 10-year exemptions on income tax, sales tax, and service tax. Usually, when you hear this from any country around the world, special economic zone, usually you hear 10-year tax exemption. That is pure profit. One of the most generous incentive packages in the region, designed to attract foundational investments. The story of tourism in Timor-Leste is one of quality over quantity. So, a rare chance to build a world-class destination from the ground up, sustainability followed by profitability is hard to come by in this particular location while widely available. Agriculture and aquaculture is going to be the second pillar, feeding the nation and fueling exports. So while tourism may be the most stunning opportunity, agriculture is the backbone of Timor's economy, employing about two-thirds of the active population for decades. Now, much of this has been subsistence farming, but a huge opportunity now is to shift from subsistence to high value commercial agriculture, a move the government is actively supporting. Now, Timor Leste has a secret weapon here, its unique terrier and heirloom crops. The most famous is the coffee. I love coffee. I'm sitting over here. I got coffee right now from Two Harbors. Good coffee. While the Timor hybrid, a national cross of Arbiac and Robusta, is well known. Most of the country's production is high quality Arabica prized for its rich flavor and low acidity, nearly 20%, matter of fact. And since 20% of the households rely on coffee for their income, productivity has been low. So this creates a massive opportunity for investment in modernization. Think hydroponic farms. But investments can take several forms: modern processing facilities to wash, dry, and sort the beans, to specialty grade standards, direct to market export businesses that build a brand around Timor-Leste's unique coffee story, and even micro investments to help farmers improve yields through regenerative agriculture. But it's not just coffee. The country has incredible potential for other high value exports like fragrance, sandalwood, or yeah, sandalwood. There we go, and cocoa. Look, they got some wild stuff. Organic vanilla. I ain't never choked so hard on trying to pronounce accent words in my life. But they've got what is that? Sandalwood, cocoa, and organic vanilla. Okay. The government is encouraging these niche crops, which can be integrated with digital platforms to connect local farms and their farmers directly with premium global buyers. Beyond the exports, there is a massive domestic opportunity in food security. So Timor-Leste still relies heavily on imported goods, and investments in modern livestock breeding, poultry farms, and aquaculture can directly address this issue, creating a profitable business while contributing to a critical national goal. The focus is on improving quality and the yield, creating space for investors who can bring in efficient irrigation systems and modern farming techniques. The government understands this is something that actively needs investing in the rural infrastructure, including areas like roads and water systems, which is another de-risking factor for investors, because if you're paving the way to the farm, then you're paving the way for the farm products to get to the market. Now we've covered incredible ground, from the untouchable paradise of Arturo to the rich potential of Timor-Leste's coffee fields. So if you found this analysis valuable, take a second to hit that subscription button. It is a simple click that tells us that you want more content on the world's most exciting frontier and the markets that it brings, which helps us bring more opportunities like this to light. Pillar number three is going to be the next one we're going to talk about, because there's a blue economy, riches of the Timor Sea. Timor-Leste's coastline stretches for over 700 kilometers, and its marine territory is vast. The ocean is a core part of its identity and its future. The government is embracing a comprehensive, sustainable blue economy, a strategy focused on job creation, poverty reduction, and climate change mitigation is also on their to-do list. So the most immediate opportunity is in post-harvest processing. While marine resources are abundant, the infrastructure to process, store, and export the catch is underdeveloped. This creates a clear demand for investments in modern processing plants, cold storage, and reliable cold chain logistics networks. An investor who can build a facility to freeze, can, or smoke fish for export is adding a crucial value add. This is a value add step that is currently missing at the commercial scale. This allows Timor-Leste to move from simply exporting raw catch to creating higher value branded seafood products. The government is explicitly welcoming partnerships that support sustainable fish. This could mean joint ventures for more modern, efficient fishing vessels or investing in technology to monitor fish stocks, ensuring the industry's long term health. Because while fishing commercially is a thing, if you overfish, you lose the population and then you lose the source of revenue. And you also compromise the ecosystem. So, the vision here will also extend to the aquaculture, which, with long coastal lines and sheltered bays, has the potential for fish and seaweed farming becoming more enormous, providing a consistent alternative with wild catch fish. The development of the Timber Bay port is a critical enabler for this whole sector. A modern, efficient port means processed seafood that can be quickly and reliably shipped to regional markets, especially within the newly accessible ASEAN bloc. An investor in the blue economy is investing in food security, industrial development, and long term visions for sustainable wealth from the sea. Now, the fourth pillar is going to be the foundational economy because we're going to be talking about processing, manufacturing, and the infrastructure. For any nation to achieve economic sovereignty, it must move up the value chain from exporting raw materials to producing finished goods. Now, this is the logic behind Timor Leste's push into light manufacturing. The opportunity here is twofold: import sustainable and export generation. So, we're going to import sustainable substitutions and export generations. The country relies heavily on imported goods for almost everything, from construction materials to processed foods. And this creates a captive domestic market for I just got a message on the side. We'll work it out. Creating a captivating domestic market for the locals. Now, a plant that cans local fish or packages local coffee for the supermarket shelf is not only creating an exportable product, but also substituting an import. A facility that manufactures basic construction material can directly supply the nation's infrastructure projects. Heineken, we're not even trying to drink. Heineken was an early mover, established a production plant in 2016, proving the model at scale. But the opportunities for small and medium sized enterprises are just as significant. Think a bottle of water plant leveraging the country's clean water sources, or assembly plants for basic consumer goods. To supercharge this sector, the government establishes special economic zones, and the most prominent is the ZISM, Special Zone of Social Market Economy. On the Oikos Enclave, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but on the Oikos Enclave, a coastal territory with a direct border to Indonesia, the government is pouring investments into Oikos to transform it into an industrial and commercial hub. Fantastic. For an investor, setting up a zone like Oikos or Arturo is incredibly attractive. The government offers incentives for up to 10 years, which can include 100% exemptions on those income taxes, like I told you earlier, sales tax, and service tax. It also offers exemptions on import duties for capital goods and equipment, which is something we didn't talk about earlier. The dramatically lower upfront cost and accelerating capital gains speeds the path to profitability with its young, eager workforce. A compelling tax incentive for Timor-Leste is making a clear case for itself as the region's next light manufacturing hub. Now, pillar number five is the future of the economy for Timor's digital 2020 2032 era. That's what we're looking for. Trying to get, I believe, about we're in 25 right now. So we're looking at like 7 years in the next 7 years. And this is where we look over the horizon because the government is actively pulling the future forward with an ambitious 10-year plan called Timor Digital 2032, launched in 2023, which is like an 11-year plan. It's a comprehensive roadmap to develop digital technologies across critical sectors like government, the economy, health, and education. Consider the raw ingredients. Timor Leste has a population of around 1.4 million people, less than California and Missouri, but pretty big population. As of early 2025, there were reportedly 1.75 million. So about 350,000 more people active on mobile connection. A mobile penetration rate of 124%. As many people using multiple SIM cards. However, internet penetration is only around 54%. And this gap highlights a massive immediate opportunity for expanding connectivity and digital services. The more exciting area for early investors is fintech. A large part of the population remains unbanked. They have mobile phones, but not a bank account. This is the classic recipe for a fintech revolution. There is a profound need for digital payments and the gateways that function them, mobile wallets, and microloan platforms to bring financial services to the masses. E-commerce is another wide open field. The government is developing a national e-commerce strategy, opening the door for platforms that connect local artisans to agricultural producers directly to the consumers. So imagine a platform dedicated to exporting specialty Timorese coffee or a marketplace for the beautiful traditional textiles known as taises. I don't know if I'm saying that right either. Taises. The Timor Digital 2032 plan also focuses heavily on e-government, creating opportunities for tech companies that can build and maintain these platforms. Furthermore, and another thing, the government is looking at smart infrastructure. The Asian Development Bank is supporting a project to install 140,000 smart meters, the country's first major smart grid initiative. This opens a door for innovation in renewable energy monitoring, investing in the Timor Leste's digital economy. Now, this is a high risk, high reward proposition, but the government has provided the vision. The demographic trends are favorable, and for a tech entrepreneur looking for a truly green field opportunity, it offers the change and chance to build the foundational digital infrastructure of an entire nation. So the opportunity is clear, but how do you actually get started? And where are the real world challenges? Well, this is the investor playbook. So your first stop is going to be Trade Invest Timor-Leste. This is the official government investment and export promotion agency. They are your one-stop shop for helping the licensing, permits, connecting with the local partners. The process is surprisingly streamlined. So, with a typical application for an incentive takes a maximum of 18 working days, which is shorter than our government shutdown. The legal framework is built to be very welcoming. So the foreign investment law will grant foreign investors the same protections as national investors, including the right to private property and access to the courts. The minimum investment for the foreign investor is set at 100 $1.5 million, 1.5 million US dollars. That's a lot of money, but it is lowered to about $750,000 for joint ventures with Timorous residents. So $750,000 and you're in there. For those of us who's working at McDonald's and Wendy's, probably not going to see us investing in that in no time soon. But it actively encourages local partnerships. The incentive packages are a major draw, as we've discussed earlier today. Depending on the location and the sector, you can get that tax holiday 5 years, 8 years, or even the 10 years that I mentioned. And on top of that, you can get a 100% exemption on the custom duties for capital goods. For long term projects, the state can grant property leases for up to 50 years. So while you're not owning certain properties, you can have a 50-year contract. That is basically the rest of your natural life and probably going into your child's early years with renewable possibilities. These are powerful tools that fundamentally change the return on investment calculation because instead of you buying the property in order for you to hold possession of it, you can actually lease the property in order to double check your finances and make sure that you have all of the tools in line for a long term engagement. Now, let's be realistic about the challenges because no frontier market is without them. First, bureaucracy. While the government is making huge strides, some administrative processes can still be very slow. Faster than America, probably, but still slow nonetheless. Patience and working closely with an agency like trade investing is key. Now, the push towards e government is a direct effort to combat the stagnation. Second, infrastructure gaps. Yes, major projects like Timber Bay Port are complete and roads are being upgraded. But in rural areas where you might find some of the prime locations to set up shop, logistics can still be a challenge. So, for a savvy investor, the pain point is also an opportunity for construction companies and logistics providers. So, instead of abandoning that key location, you want to instead have you some construction companies being built so that you can pave the way to the resort location so that you can set up the resort location. If you can get government funding or you can get a contract of some sort to pave the road, past the location, you can just detour into your prime location and then set up a business. Just like I told you guys about Bangladesh. If you go in there and you focus on filling in the electrical grid that gets rid of the rolling blackouts, then you can build buildings that can house small business owners. And by having buildings that can support small business owners, then you can invest in those small business owners. If your electricity provides power to the building that you're leasing to the client that you're investing in, you are increasing your opportunities for success. Third, land tenure. This can be complex with unclear titles in some areas. The government recognizes this is a bottleneck and is working on land reform to provide greater clarity and security. Working with local partners and legal experts is going to be crucial because you don't want to call yourself trying to build on land that doesn't belong to the person that's leasing it to you. Finally, workforce skills. Timor-Leste has a wonderfully young and eager workforce, but there can be a shortage of specific technical and managerial skills. Now, this challenge is also an opportunity because there's a clear market for vocational training and centers that can upskill the local population for new industries. Even if they're not working for you, you can make a profit off of training everybody to work for somebody else. That's a business in and of itself. So investing into Timor Leste requires a mindset that embraces these challenges as part of the ground floor opportunities. The risks are real, but they are being actively addressed. And for those willing to navigate them, the rewards, bolstered by some of the strongest government incentives in the region, are exceptionally compelling. Beyond the headline sectors, Timor Leste offers a fascinating landscape for the unorthodox investor, those looking for opportunities that blend profits with purpose. For example, first, there's impact investing. The country's development needs uh, create fertile ground for projects with both a financial return and a measurable social or environmental impact. Think of a social enterprise focused on digital literacy. For rural communities, this will create a larger consumer base for digital services. Or consider financing a reforestation project to combat soil erosion, which could earn carbon credits while protecting farmlands. The government actively seeks partnerships for these initiatives, and grant co financing is going to be often available. Second, the creative economy holds untapped potential. More or less, they have a rich culture, heritage from its intricate ties weaving to its unique music. So there are opportunities to invest in enterprises that preserve and monetizes this heritage. This could be a boutique culture lodge, a project to restore a heritage site, or a digital platform for storytelling that shares Timorese culture with the world. Third, within agriculture, there are ultra niche opportunities. We talked about specialty coffees, but it goes deeper. Think single origin, certified organic vanilla, or small batch cocoa, processed in country to the highest standards. The key is integrating these products with modern digital platforms to bypass traditional commodity markets and capture the full value of the product's story. Now, these unorthodox opportunities aren't for everyone. They often require more patience and a different way of measuring returns. But for these uh, individuals with long term visions, for those of you that represent a chance to get in on the most foundational levels of Timor Leste's development, for the individual that wants the road named after him, this is for you. We've journeyed across the landscape of opportunity in Timor Leste, and a clear picture has emerged. This is a nation at a historic inflection point. The convergence of its hard won stability, the seismic shift of its Asian ascension, and a government with a clear investor friendly vision has created a rare window of opportunity. And we've seen the opportunity in its untouched tourism sector, a chance to build Asia's next great eco destination. And we've explored its agriculture and blue economy, where high value crops and the sustainable wealth of the ocean are just beginning to be unlocked. And we've looked to the future at a digital frontier where a young, mobile first population is ready to leap into the new economy. Of course, the path isn't without challenges. Infrastructure, bureaucracy, and skills gaps are real hurdles, but they are being addressed. And for early movers, they are part of the equation that leads to outsized returns because every problem has a monetary profit for a solution. Timor-Leste is making its case to the world, not just as a destination for investment, but as a partner in growth. President Jose Romero's Horta himself has declared that the country is now officially open for business. The incentives are in place and the strategy is clear, and the door is open for investors with vision and long term perspectives. The chance to get in on the ground floor of Asia's newest growth story is right here, right now. So, this is the moment for transformation, and a moment like this doesn't last forever. I think that you guys should take the opportunity to try to like and subscribe to the channel, maybe even um, sign up for the membership, and we can work together with getting those digital guides to help you guys with your analysis. We want to make sure that you have breakdowns and investment processes and specific tax incentives and key contacts like Trade Invest to More Leste to download and to be able to gain access to East Timor investment guides. So reach out to us, send me a link in the email, and we'll be able to get that information to you as you need it. Now, we want to hear from you though. Which of these sectors are most exciting about investing in? Something that really triggers your ability to get in there. The untouched tourism potential, the agricultural revival, or the high risk, high reward digital frontier? Let us know in the comments. And again, don't forget to subscribe for more of the deep dives into the world's most exciting frontiers and markets. Because I got to tell you, we cover a different country every year, every week, as a matter of fact, every week on Wednesday. So, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And before we walk out, I'm going to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. One more time, I'm your host, Xander, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.